You're the only power. You're the only power.
All right, then let's begin. Thank you, everyone, for joining again. This is going to be concluding our 30-day non-dairy or no dairy challenge. And I want to give everyone kudos for everything that you've been doing, for the hard work. I'm not sure if you're new to being a vegan, vegetarian, or just new to a no dairy challenge. Definitely thumbs up. Kudos to you for taking on this heavy challenge today. And today we're just going to go into a heart talk. And the reason we want to go into a heart talk, we focused on fitness in the beginning. In the beginning, when we first started, after fitness, we had a nice breath work done by Terrence or Nadu, as well as we call him, which was phenomenal. And now we just want to talk about the heart, right? Opening up the heart, which you may have been dealing with during this time, during the 30-day no dairy challenge, some of the obstacles you may have faced. And we're going to have an open forum. So if you've never gone to an open forum where you're able to communicate freely, if you have any questions that may come up as we're actually going into different topics that we're touching today, feel free.
Like it's girls that hit me like, no, I like that mask. Because when I wore a mask,
Thank you. And for the ones that's just joining us, we're going to get ready to start the hard talk. And what I was mentioning was we're going to go into an open forum talk, and we're going to allow people to answer any questions that you may have, anything that's on your heart that you actually felt during this 30-day no dairy challenge. Please feel free to share. And with that, it's a safe space, meaning you can say exactly how you feel. No one's going to judge you. Of course, be respectful to one another and anyone's thoughts and opinions of what they say. And just, feel comfortable in sharing what we have to share today and let your heart speak versus your mind. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it. And welcome to Heart Talk. I'll have Antoine go ahead and break the ice with a opening question for Heart Talk. Mr. Antoine.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Hello. Yes, nice. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. This is the conclusion of our 30-day no dairy challenge. We've done different things every Saturday. We've had breath work. We've had a workout, which was really intense. And we shared information, and all just in hope to help people on a healthier track. One thing I'm always one thing I'm really big on is, having compassion in this health journey. It definitely doesn't happen in a day. So if you have that compassion for yourself and you let yourself be some days and really just love yourself, really, you can have the consistency to get to where you want to be or where your body feels best. And so to start it off, we know people have been doing this for the 30 days, and we appreciate your participation. And one thing that's really I struggled with in my beginning of my journey is caving to pressures, right? And what is caving to pressures? An example of caving to a pressure is, you're at dinner, you're on your journey and you've been strict about how you've been putting things in your body, and, you want to stay consistent with that. But, everybody's ordering, the pressure comes on, and you're like, I'll just have a little bit of the thing, and a lot of times that's what happens. That's how it happens. Even with Marcel, Terrence, and I, who have been on a journey for quite some time now, we cave to those type of pressures. So the question I'm asking is, do you notice that it's harder to make new choices or healthier choices around family and friends? And what does that really mean, right? A word I learned not too long ago was codependency, right? And I feel really codependent in moments like these, where I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable because of my choices. But at the end of the day, I'm making a choice for myself and my being. And I shouldn't necessarily be affected by how other people are going to feel about choices that I'm making for myself. right? And so in these codependent moments, like I just really, with practice, have taken the time to understand, like, why am I doing something? Where is it coming from? And then it helps me make better choices moving forth. Do any of you struggle with that, or has that been a struggle in this 30-day challenge? Another example in New York City, for those who have been to New York City or lived in New York City, is, you know, you're around with a group of friends and they're like, oh, let's just grab a slice real quick. And I'm not eating a slice. So where's that, you know, or am I comfortable enough to be like, I'm okay. I'm going to say no to this opportunity to have a slice with you guys. I hope nobody's offended. But honestly, it doesn't matter because it's not their body, right? But that's just an example. If anybody wants to speak on how, you know, they've had challenges in the 30-day challenge, or just with their diet in general, in regards of being influenced by family or friends. No pressure.
Hey guys, this is Daquan.
There you go.
How you doing, man?
What's going on, everybody? I just want to say, yeah, Twan, I relate to that. Being in Texas and being from New York, the slice scenario is a case in point. You know what I mean? Chilling with family members and they say, let's get a slice. It's kind of hard not to indulge when the whole crew is doing it. But, you know, you just got to stand up for what, like you said, for what you trying to do and what you trying to put into your body. And eventually they'll get it and they'll know and they won't take offense. And sometimes we just got to, you know, let it be what it is. But I definitely relate to that.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, Quan. A lot of these cases I've been with you.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just it's really honing in on what you're about and what you want and what your goals are, and, you know, being aligned with that. Another thing is, like, and it sometimes happens with my family, is the resistance. Do you sometimes feel the resistance, right? Do you see people making healthier choices or better choices for themselves, and you choose to be resistant, right? Like, I have a lot of family and friends who order the thing right in front of me because they know I don't think they should order the thing. And that's on me. That's on me, because I shouldn't be taking their inventory, right? I shouldn't be worried about what they're doing, how often they're doing it. It's just like, when I love somebody, it comes from a place of, like,
Concern.
wow, concern, and you know, just, we've been doing this for a long time, so we know when you're eating something that's feeding the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's very hard. And another codependent moment where it's, you know, you don't want to see your loved ones go down a path or, you know, hurt themselves. So yes, I've dealt with the resistance. I've dealt with the response to the resistance. And again, just having compassion for them and moving with love. I would like to segue that into my brother Marcel, who, you know, started his journey around the same time I started my journey, probably a little bit before me. And his story and what he was doing was very inspiring in regards to weight loss and consistency and self-love. So, Marcel.
First and foremost, thank you, Quan and Twan, for just sharing. And yeah, Quan, you made it a bit easier now, and I can share with ease, right? So thank you for breaking the first person to break that ice. But yeah, very similar to I think everyone has those kind of faces, those kind of obstacles when you transition to anything in life, right? Whether it's new friends, whether it's food related. You know, for me, it was food related, of course. And well, I had a sweet tooth. First and foremost, I'm a Jamaican descent with a British background. So when it comes to foods, it's heavily oxtail, curry goat, curry chicken, it's fish, all kinds of different great seasonings, which, you know, were great. And I don't judge them. And like Twan said, we have to have empathy, right? My mother was taught what she was taught, and it was handed down further and further and further. So when it came to the foods, I was taught the same things about the foods, and not more about how it affected me, but how it made me feel good per se, right? Anytime I ate curry chicken, I felt good. It tasted good. So I never really correlated anything to my health till one day in college, and I'll give you the short version. I was born with asthma. I grew up in Germany. I've always had asthma issues. It's nothing new to me. It's literally like breathing for me. It's every day that I dealt with it. However, when I, towards my later years in college, I actually caused to have a hole in my lung. And this was from actually coughing. I've never experienced this. And the doctor's like, hey, this is a common thing for asthmatics. And I was like, well, I've been asthmatic since I was a child. I've never, ever blew a hole in my lung. And I've never even heard of that, being asthmatic. Luckily, oxygen did fix it. And I naturally started to heal myself. Now, the doctor made it very clear and stated to me, hey, what are you eating? What's kind of your focal point when it comes to foods? And I told him, foods that I was consuming, what I'm used to. And in the nicest way, he was like, you're going to have to make some sort of adjustment, right? Because obviously you're in the hospital. It is kind of food related. Yeah, it has to do with your asthma, but it also is food related. You're borderline diabetic. You need to start doing other things for your body. And of course, like anybody, I would imagine it hits you like a ton of bricks and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. I'll definitely try to figure something out. But of course, it was myself doing it alone at first, right? So I really didn't know what to do, how to go about it. I told Terrence about it. Twan heard about it, and they were like, hey, man, once you move to Georgia, we'll go ahead and work on your fitness. And that was Terrence's main focal point, to work on my fitness, help me start working out, go to the gym, and start going into that aspect. And which I did. Working out was definitely a challenge, right? Because I had to get into the aspect of working out, being comfortable working out, going in the gym and having other eyes on me and not being comfortable because I wasn't in the best physical shape of my life. And I dealt with that as well also. Then from there, being an individual that loves sweets, it was a hard adjustment for me to let go of sweets. So fitness started in Georgia. Twan actually started helping. He came to the gym as well with us. And then from there, literally, we let go of red meat. That was the first transition. And letting go of the red meat was extremely difficult for the simple reason I never had to let go of anything ever before, especially something that I liked or loved. So making this transition to let something go was just a mental strain that I never could even fathom because I've never dealt with it. So as I started to let go of the red meat, I did start to see like a change in my thoughts. Some of the movies we were watching, I would say very, very stereotypical. I was a certain kind of macho man, watch sports predominantly, only focused on certain things. But as I started to eat differently, it started to change the movies that I watched. I now watch Notebook. I now watch P.S. I Love You, more movies that have different feelings outside of action, right? And I'm not saying that it's a big deal, but I was able to start seeing the different changes in the small things just from what I was watching. And then I started to feel differently because, of course, now I'm in the gym. I'm a bit more active. So I'm starting to see the changes. So, of course, I'm getting more pumped up internally, seeing the weight loss. I'm feeling better. I have Twan and Terrence giving me good, tough talks, but telling me, hey, man, it's all about self-love and you got to take it a step further. So luckily, I definitely had a system around me. But then, like Twan was saying earlier, what was tough was hanging out with my other friends who aren't taking this transitional step, right? So now I'm the individual always, is that cheese? Is that dairy? So I was dealing with that, and I was dealing with how my friends were, of course, perceiving me and judging me. Are they like, oh man, here goes this vegan guy again. He's always talking about health. So I was worried about that. But I can promise you, the more you trust in yourself, the more you trust the process for yourself, right? Because if you don't love yourself, who else can love you? And this was like a tough talk that Twan and Nadu, myself, had, but it was a tough talk. Like, it was a real masculine talk. I remember yesterday, I was going to the doctor to do my blood work, my last physical. And they're like, hey, so you're making all these changes in life. Do you really do you really care about yourself? Do you really love yourself? And I'm like, of course, man, that's why I'm going to the doctor. I'm getting my checkups. I'm doing the things that you would do for someone that cares and loves about themselves. And we got into this big, nice debate. And they're like, no, man, if you really loved yourself, you wouldn't put your body in these predicaments, right? I mean, end of the day, you know now, and you're feeling it. You're seeing what's happening. So why not truly love yourself and take that step and just go 100% in it, like you did in school, like you did with everything else? And I'm like, you know what? Of course, there was resistance, the pride, the ego. I'm like, I don't want to hear this from them. But of course, internally, something was like, yeah, they kind of are saying the right things there. So of course, I did go to the doctor that day still. I still had to go. You know, I went to the doctor and it was literally my last visit. He did my blood work, started to see that the way that I was eating and things that were happening was just, it was a great response to my body. So came back home that day, and then I just continued with the path of trying to let go things smaller and smaller and smaller. My biggest thing I would say wasn't letting go of the meats, but was my sweet tooth. So I used to literally every week, every Friday, go to Whole Foods and buy these vegan cookies. But I would buy literally 6 huge vegan cookies. Probably, you know, it's a huge cookie. It's not like the size of an Oreo. It's really like 4 or 5 Oreos put into one. But I had to get that every single week. Then from there, it was like I at least have to have Simply Lemonade or simply some sort of juice to give myself that that feeling of feeling, you know, okay and feeling good. But it was a transition, and as I got to a certain hump in my weight loss, it was like, I can't get over this hump. And then Terrence and Antoine were like, you got to let go of the sweets. It's the last thing. It's tough, but it's the last thing. And when I let go of the sweets, everything else just flowed. But what I always tell people is with my story, and this is a condensed version, is that you got to trust the process. It's not about the rabbit. It's rabbit in the hare, as they would say, sorry, the hare and the tortoise, excuse me. So you're going to be more of the tortoise. And as long as you get to the finish line, it doesn't matter, right? And how you get to the finish line is what matters. Meaning, are you loving and caring with your friends and your brothers and sisters? Meaning, as you're making these transitions, you don't now make fun of them for not making the same transition as you, or you're not going to talk to them about science and say, this is why it's bad. No, understand why they're consuming what they're consuming and allow them to consume what they want to consume, because it's helping them in what they're dealing with. Now, when you're plagued with something like myself, where it's a health related issue, then like Dr. Sebi says, you're going to have to make different steps, because the foods are going to heal you, right? Medication comes from foods. It comes from plants, idea, right? Plants are a source of food. So it's taking those small things and kind of like reverse engineering what was always taught to us. And that's kind of how I got to my food path. But of course, I still deal with different things now. And what I mean by that is, like, when I see my friends eating meat, chicken, things of that nature, I'm never like disgusted by what they're eating. I have like nostalgic moments like, ooh, I remember the time when I used to have like Five Guys, or I used to eat this. But one thing that I realized is I cut it too quickly. Go ahead, Twan.
No, I just said wings.
Right, wings, you know, and me, a big thing that I deal with is my friends always say, is there anything that you miss? I'm like, no, I don't miss the meat, but I do miss the fact that I didn't indulge in Five Guys the way I should have, right? Because I didn't know I was going to be a vegan, 10 years later in my life. But if I would have known, I would have enjoyed Five Guys, right? But luckily, it's not a pressing thing. But I will say, just keep trusting the process, keep doing what you're doing. It takes a step at a time. And again, it's not about being the rabbit, it's about being the tortoise. As long as you get to the finish line and you feel better and you're exuding love to everybody, that's what it's about.
Thank you, Marcel. Do you to end it real quick? Do you mind showing your
picture? Right, yeah, right.
Your transition.
So I'm going to do a screen share, and just to be so everyone could see, I'm going to start off with my Facebook and go right to the picture. But at least you know that it is me. It's my Facebook, and I'm not joking. It's not somebody else. So 1 second. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Thumbs up. Perfect. So this is Marcel Rosemary, myself. Okay. I want to show you the picture. This is me at roughly about 300. I know 320 was my heaviest. I think here I was about 320 pounds. I was very much very vain, very into myself. So jewelry, I was always big on designer things. I couldn't leave the house without a haircut. Mind you, I don't have a haircut now. I have dreads now. I used to have a brush cut. So I got very self-confident the more and more I started to eat differently. And again, it just changed my train of thought. But this is the old picture of me, and this is who I am currently. So with that,
I want to let you guys know that Marcel worked in corporate America, but also moonlit as a rapper. So, okay. So if you're worried about his image right there, he was living double.
Yo, Marcel, that was an amazing transformation, my brother. I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you, brother. I'm proud of your transformation too. We actually got to get a picture of you.
Thank you. Word. I still go up and down, but I know my ranges. I know my healthy range. If I'm get anything over 270, that's no bueno because I'm tall. So, you know,
Okay.
but 240 to 260, I'm good.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
Listen to your body. Okay, so that brings me to another question, right? And mind you, I ask these questions as a prompt to yourself, right? You don't have to have the answers now. It's just something, a seed planted to think about moving forward in your journey and the things that you want to create and the healthy habits that you want to create for yourself. Go ahead, Marcel. Sorry.
I do want to say one thing as well. I don't have asthma anymore. I got, again, I was born with it. If you ask any doctor, you can go do your research. I always tell people definitely research. Ideally, once you're 18 and if you haven't lost it by then, it's going to be with you for the rest of your life, ideally. There are a few individuals that are like the miracles, as they would say, and they do break the mold after 18. But ideally, if you're 18 and you still have asthma, that's usually it. I really got rid of it by the age of 25. I no longer had chest pains. I was able to breathe properly. I was allergic to about 144 different things. Now went to 2 things. I'm allergic to dust and cats still a little bit. And, but I can say mentally, it took me till the age of 26 to let go of my inhaler. So I used to still carry my asthma inhaler around because I mentally couldn't let it go. But then I literally sat back, reflected one day, and was like, hey, it's been like a whole 3 years and you haven't used your inhaler. Maybe you can, throw it away. And at 26, I literally beat asthma. So I always tell people 25, physically, I beat it. 26 mentally, and I haven't been sick since the age of, transition started at 22. I would say the last time I was really sick was 25. And then after that, maybe do I get a common cold every once a year? Yeah, but nothing to what I used to be plagued with, which is, my common cold would be a flu. My flu I would be in the hospital. So, if you're dealing with anything disease related or food related, you can heal yourself. Doctor Strange does exist. It's not a joke. Go ahead, Swan. Sorry about that.
No. Thank you. And mind you, I would say for Marcel, Terrence, and I, we've gone to the extremes with our health due based to our family history and our personal history. So, but and that's a plant-based kind of raw-based kind of diet, but intuitive eating, like we're big proponents of like listening to your body and just finding out what's best for you. And whatever you're eating, whatever you're choosing to eating, just make sure it's like the highest quality, because I think that's going to make the difference in how you feel, regardless of what you're eating. So, yes, we tell a story from a plant-based kind of narrative, and that's because we felt like we were behind schedule in a lot of ways, right? I didn't cut my first avocado until I was 25 years old, right? Like, and so knowing what I know now, like how far along I could have been as an athlete or just a person if I had healthy habits as a younger adult or even teenager. Mind you, full-fledged sports. All of us played pretty high in like basketball and football. We were in the state of Florida, and the competition's high, and we were on these teams. So just imagining if we had the tools, right? And I think that's what Sentient Wellness is about, is like giving people the tools to then make the best decision for themselves. Moving on into my next question is like, what are some of the internal voices that talk you out of making healthier choices, right? And those internal voices sounds like, it doesn't matter. I'll start tomorrow. It's too hard. I don't want to stand out, which is something we touched on earlier. But I really want it. That's always a good one. I deserve it. Or like, I had a hard day, right? And the reason we touch on these things is because, yes, the physical part, yes, don't eat that. Eat this. That's the physical part. But the real work is the emotional side of it, knowing that food is tied to your emotions, right? And like you make a lot of the decisions on food based off how you're feeling, right? And so if you can be in tune with that and identify that like a lot of choices are made based off an emotion, that maybe can help you in making healthier choices, right? Um, yeah, so if anybody wants to share of a recent experience where an internal voice either helped them make a better decision, or they felt like they ate a little something that they weren't supposed to, or something that they knew wouldn't make them feel better, but you know what, the ego or the sadness or the happiness just wanted it right then and there. And that's okay. That's okay. But those things are gonna happen. Those things are gonna happen often. But if there's a consciousness around it, right? If there's a consciousness in how you're making your decisions and understanding that, yeah, I did have a hard day. I want something that makes me feel better. But you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to go harder and I'm going to eliminate something, right? Because I got to take steps. Right?
Yeah. So Antoine, I find myself in the mornings, or not, well, not necessarily in the mornings, but I find myself during the day getting lazy. I work from home now. And so I'm like, okay, I don't want to go out and go find something to eat. But like what I don't have fresh vegetables or like, fresh fruits or anything in the house right now. So then I'll result to eating something that is not necessarily the best for me. So that's something that I'm trying to work on. I have like a store. Whole Foods is up the block. I really could do this, and maybe just like in my schedule, saying like every 3 days, I'm just going to stop by Whole Foods and get whatever. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on, and that's what I kind of battle with. It's pure laziness at this point, because I should be.
That's fair, and that's not all your fault, right? It could be a world, it could be a country where there were healthier options, more accessible, right? But unfortunately, in a lot of our cities, that's not the case, right? So we do have to do the extra work. We do have to go the extra mile. We do have to plan to make sure we have a healthier option, because it's not accessible in a lot of places. And that's unfortunate, but that is the world we live in today. And it's actually going to take me on to my next thing. But does anybody else have those struggles, or what do those struggles sound like for you? Or how has it been helpful? How have those voices, internal voices, been helpful into stopping you from making
Excuse my background. I'm in the car now, but I just wanted to say, for me, it's just knowing that I'm what decision I'm making. Sometimes I choose to make the right decision, and sometimes I'll be lenient on myself and say, you know what, I deserve a po' boy today. You know what I'm saying? So, that's how I do it. And then, like you said, Twan, I have like, I'm bouncing back tomorrow, or I'm gonna make sure that I take sea moss and get rid of some of this added mucus I done put in my body. You get what I mean? So just trying to be aware of what I'm doing, even though I may slip up from time to time.
Absolutely. And again, that is okay, because we're taking it slow and steady with ourselves, right? And so each day you get better. Each day is another lesson, and we move forward. But to Aaliyah's point, my next thing is preventative thinking versus reactive thinking. Preventative thinking, things we just touched on, right? Like, how do I make sure that I know the environment that I'm in? I know the situation I'm going to go into. So how am I prepared for that? Right? How does, for me, preventative came from, unfortunately, watching a lot of my family members have diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, this, that, and the third, right? And then so I'm watching my loved ones take pills, take their blood sugar on a daily basis, and then not understanding that they would do these things, and then we would go get something to eat, right? and not really having the knowledge and understanding that these are the same things that are making them have to take these pills and having to do these things. So what is like, how can I prevent this from happening? And then came my journey with Terrence and Marcel, and the information came to us, and it was, it was already written. Like, I always like to think I was always going to be this person based off my life experiences and where the world has taken me. And so reactive is just that. Like, how am I reacting to now the ailments that I have? Right? Like, why does it, for me, it's like, why does it have to get this bad for us to make changes? Like, why is something dramatic have to happen, or life-changing have to happen for us to make healthier choices? Now, that's a deeper conversation, but it's a good thing. That's just a seed I wanted to plant: preventative thinking versus reactive thinking. And hopefully that could help you in making decisions, right? Like, I'm trying to prevent feeling this way later. I know this is going to make me sleepy, or I'm going to be tired, or I know, a lot of problem. Another preventative way that I could be more, put more energy to is rest. I have a working mind, and I'm always thinking, I'm always planning, not necessarily planning, but I'm always thinking of the next step and how I can get better, and things I want to do, things I want to accomplish. And sometimes that keeps me up at night, right? But then that affects me the next day, right? And I know I can prevent that by putting myself in a space of quietness, of stillness, and going to sleep. But again, we're all working through what we need to work through. So preventative thinking versus reactive thinking.
With that, Swan,
Can I just say something about that?
Yes.
Sorry. I so agree with you, Antoine, because I'm the same way. I work really long days. I'm a single mom. I do 100 other things. So it's like, for me, like, I've learned that getting rest is very important. So I've like changed my schedule to like force myself to have certain hours of sleep, certain breaks, not take so much on so that I can be good on that end. But I want to stress that is very important in getting rest. And I've seen huge change like within myself because I'm doing that. And putting my phone away, not checking emails at night. I make sure to put it on the side. And I'm like, that's it for today. Like, I'm trying to be very strict for me so I can be good, not only for myself, but for my family. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, and understanding that preventative thinking is a form of self-love, right? Taking the time for yourself, putting effort towards how you want to feel and how you want to be in the world. So all things that are necessary and come with time, but yes, like, once we put forth the effort, we see the changes for sure. Marcel, you want to say something?
And to what Aaliyah said earlier, as well as Quan and Patricia, it's becoming part of routine, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's hard initially for anything, right? But once it becomes part of your routine or your everyday, it's like the cosmos start aligning things and allow you to do those things a bit more freely, right? So let's just say, like Aaliyah was saying, when she's working, she sometimes she has that issue of getting a bit lazy. The fact that you know that you're getting lazy is actually a good thing, because you're aware of it. And now it's going to start changing and transitioning. It's just now you're breaking that mold or that cycle that you've been doing for 10 years, maybe 6 years, maybe 3 years, or however long you've been doing a certain cycle. Now that you're breaking it and going into a new cycle, just give it time. And I promise you, it'll start transitioning itself for you. And I say that because I used to deal with the same thing when I was working in corporate America. I did business consulting, vendor relations for Sprint. So I was on the road all day, every day. And I got to a point of, how am I going to eat? I can't eat at certain restaurants. What do I do? And as I just sat back and, let the thoughts kind of settle in and relax, it was like, hey, no, you're going to be given everything that you need. You're just coming into a new aspect of self that you haven't really indulged in before. So be patient with yourself and know that you are going to start packing your own foods. You know, you are going to go to Whole Foods the day before and get certain things. You are going to start mapping out your day because you know you're going to go meet your friends at some restaurant. So you may bring some fruit or other things because you're now actively thinking about it, like you're doing, Aaliyah. Same thing with you, Patricia. So I say keep doing it and just know that it just takes time for routines to come in. But once the routine comes in, it's like if you used to always never drink coffee, but now you drink coffee all the time, it's like you always have time to make your Starbucks, right? It's the same concept. As long as you make the time for it, it will change and transition.
I promise you, the three of us are kind of like soccer moms when we're like going to events. We're like, we got the pack walnuts, we got the pack of this, got a pack of this, because we know like once we get there, it's just not gonna be what we need, right? And that's unfortunate. So to say, you know, if anybody has some connections there, I love going to live sporting events. Of course, at any of these stadiums, there is nothing for me to eat there. So that is something we would like to work on and help out. You know, so if anybody knows any arenas and any connections, we would like to make that bridge, because I think that's an option that needs to be had at all these events. You know, you pay $200-300 to go see a sporting event, and then you got to pay $15 for something that costs 50 cents, you know, or the quality of it is. And so it's unfortunate. And I think, you know, hopefully that changes moving forward. Sorry, I just had to touch.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. A question that I want to ask as well, it's kind of going into what you said, actually, Twan. During the 30-day no dairy challenge, did anyone have any support from home, or do you feel like it was important to have support from home or friends or family members as you're going through your food transition? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, we know everybody is, you know, some of you are just joining us for today, so don't worry about that. But yes, for those who have been doing the 30-day challenge.
Or just a food journey in general.
Yeah. No.
I can definitely say I had great support from you guys.
Yeah.
And then I was able to even go out, get something to eat, and then take off the cheese. And I'm looking at the cheese like, oh, I miss you, but it's okay. We can do this. And they watched me take off the cheese and said, well, why didn't you order it without cheese? And I said, in all honesty, I forgot, but it's okay. I can take it off. And that was okay. I did it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I had support from my mom and one of my friends. I drink coffee, so I love cream. So I ended up buying like a non-dairy creamer. And then for my smoothies, I ended up buying like oat milk. I just started like substituting stuff, but my mom actually joined me. So she started having that too. And she's like, I can't even taste the difference. So yeah, I got her on it.
Nice.
I want to take a little time out because I'm so happy that my friend Samantha is here. Someone I met on my food journey, and she has quite the story. She doesn't necessarily have to get into it too. It's her first time with us, so I really appreciate you being here, and thank you. I know she has in the past has traveled to different companies and organizations and explained her changes and how it changed her life by changing her diet and her consciousness and way of thinking. So thank you again, and you know, say hello to the people if you can.
Hi everyone, thank you, Antoine. I'm so happy to be here. This is so cool. I want to continue being a part of this. This is my people right here. Long story like you did, Marcel, so I'll keep it super short. In 2009, I got really, really sick. I was diagnosed with a autoimmune neuromuscular disorder, which left me paralyzed from head to toe. And I was in the hospital for many months as a vegetable. And I was on a tennis scholarship at the time, playing for Hofstra University. And it was a D1 school, and I like made it. That was my dream. And the doctors are telling me, you know, you'll never play tennis again. You're lucky if you ever walk again. And I just remember tears coming down my face, thinking like, no. And I was 20 years old. And after after I was released from the hospital, I had to go to rehab to learn how to walk and talk and eat again. And I had to take the semester off from school. And in my studies of neurology and like learning what this disorder that I now have for the rest of my life, where I have to take 3 pills every 6 hours for the rest of my life in order to trick my body into thinking that the connection between my brain, my neuron, and my muscle will work. You know, I'll never get a full night's sleep again was my first thought. Then the medicine made me gain a ton of weight. I was covered in acne. All my hair fell out. I was like, I don't know what type of life I'm going to have, but it's certainly not this one, especially at 20, 21 years old. And so I, with the semester off from school and having nothing to do because I was stuck to my bed, I studied the connection between neurology and nutrition, and then all the systems that the body holds. And in my studies, I learned that certain human bodies accept animal products as a toxin. Not all human bodies, but most of them. And I was like, let me see if this is mine. And I come from a super Persian household, so food is really, really important. And just when you were going, Marcel, into all the Jamaican dishes that, you know, are a part of your life, I have those as well. And so I come down and, you know, there's this like epic feast and I cannot eat anything. And I'm coming down and I'm making my salad and I'm telling my parents I'm going to be raw vegan from now on. And I want to see if this will heal me or at least make my pain less and the possibilities more. And man, the resistance and the judgment from them, you know, that was super tough. But slowly but surely, like a year is when they were like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Anyway, at like 6 months of being raw vegan, I noticed a difference. I mean, at the 3-month mark, I felt a significant difference, but 6 months is when it really started to, I don't know, become very present. And I was seeing my neurologist every week for checkups. And I said to him, I want to start to wean myself off the medication. I have a feeling that the raw vegan movement medicine has really impacted me. And he said, if you do this, you will just have to start rehab all over again. So these baby steps that you've taken, you know, like you will have to restart. And I was like, I'm willing to take the risk. And slowly but surely, I decreased 5 milligrams every other week until about a year and 2 months later, after being diagnosed, I was off medication. And then like 2 months later, I was playing tennis. And I remember crying as I hit my first ball. It was like, I never thought that would happen, and especially only like a year and a half later. And I remember going to my final visit with my neurologist, and he threw the file of papers at the wall, and he's like, why did I go to medical school? This is like, you've just cured yourself from food. And I'm like, well, that's just Eastern versus Western thinking and medicine, in my opinion. But and so I was raw vegan for 16 months without a morsel of anything else, because the willpower that I had of, I do not want to be sick anymore, I want to walk and talk and live, that was my motivation. And it's ironic because my younger sister went vegan 3 or 4 years prior to that, and she did it because she saw a PETA video and saw animal cruelty. And I remember in my late teenage years, you know, making fun of her for being vegan and like, why are you making your life so inconvenient? Like, you're going to miss out on all of these events and parties and going out to dinner with your friends. And once it shifted for me, I realized, and it's a part of like the lesson for everybody, is it really is a mindset. Like, you have to find why it's important to you. For my sister, it was animal cruelty. For me, it is true health and knowing that if I'm going to eat this, I'm eating a toxin. So it's like, if you're okay smoking a cigarette, if you're okay, I know this is extreme, but like doing crack, like literally sometimes the way my brain sees cheese is as if I'm going to do a hard drug. I know that's really extreme, but that's the mentality I had to have in order to have the willpower that I had and still have. And so after a year and a half of being raw vegan, I was like, all right, I need a bowl of rice, man. Like I need something hot. And I made my first Persian dish vegan, and I had it with the rice and the stew on top. I don't know if you're familiar with Persian food, but please try it. It's so delicious. And so I've been vegan since then. I try to be as raw as possible just because of the amazing benefits. But yeah, I guess the biggest takeaway is that I'm officially in remission. I still test for my disorder, and I still have to be careful with like certain other things. And I have a slew of allergies like you did, Marcel. But man, I'm grateful every single day that I can walk. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Samantha. I really appreciate you telling your story. It really hits home for me for sure. And that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Sharon, I say the biggest thing that I got, I mean, there was a lot that I got from it, but the faith that you had, right? That's something that we don't speak about a lot, but you gotta, whether everyone has different beliefs. So, whatever the word faith translates to you in, but there's a journey. I'm not going to lie to you and say that's going to be easy. No, as you heard Samantha, she had conflict, right? Conflict does breed harmony. Terrence always talks about it. You hear other people always speak about it, but you got to just have faith. You got to hunker down, as they would say, and just go through it. But once you go through it, even the gentleman in the medical world was like, wow, you defied science. My doctor said the same thing, but it now gave them a different perspective, right? But there is holistic doctors, right? So it lets you know that there are other ways, but just the resilience that you had is the key. And it's not going to be easy. We don't want to tell you that it's going to be easy to transition anything. It's like when you got that dream job, it really wasn't easy to get that dream job. When you look back at everything that you went to do, same thing for tennis, same thing for anything that you're following your heart to do, it's going to be tough. But once you break through, I don't think that you've probably dealt with something as hard as that was. You may have dealt with other things, but I don't think you dealt with that boulder again, right? Once you got that big boulder off, maybe now you dealt with a 10-pound boulder versus that 1,000-pound boulder. But kudos to you. And yeah, that's the thing that we don't speak about enough. It's just everyone's a miracle. As long as you just do it. That's why Nike is so famous. Just do it.
Another thing I wanted to add was that like the accidental inspiration that I was to the people that I was eating and healing around. And so after a while, not long, only a couple months, my household had raw nights. And so Mondays and Thursdays became raw dinners. And it's still in effect to this day, 11, 12 years later. And them seeing, I was like completely covered in acne and had no hair and was like 50 pounds heavier. And to then see like my evolvement, and now I have hair again and I have clear skin now. And this is all from the food. Like vegan food, raw food is medicine. And I truly believe it is a healer. I mean, I think willpower and mental strength definitely can take you very far, but man, the power in vegetables and fruit is like, it's untapped, really.
Incredible. I really appreciate everybody sharing that. That was wonderful. We're about 5 minutes to the hour. The last thing I want to prompt everybody with is, for those who have done the dairy challenge, we thank you. We really appreciate your efforts in participating with us. This was our first No Dairy Challenge. It was in correlation with COVID and eliminating mucus and just leading a better, healthier lifestyle and showing people that they can eliminate something, at least for a time. And there are benefits to that in all ways, not just food, eliminating things. So the last question is, do you think something like the No Dairy Challenge, which is a form of a structure, do you work well within a structure, or do you do better like challenging yourself and doing it alone, or placing those things in front of you by yourself, or do you need kind of a community to help you in a structure-based kind of format, right? So think about what works best for you and how you can be challenged. And think about another challenge that you can do for yourself outside of us, right? Like we plan to do more challenges. We plan to have more conversations, cooking, all types of things. But as we move on from the dairy challenge, what's a challenge you can place upon yourself? What's something you can eliminate for a month, for 15 days, for 10 days, however many, for the week, right? Like how can you start implementing reducing into your life, right? Because reducing things that are not good for you is actually giving yourself more than what you thought. And so I really appreciate everyone coming. This was profound for me. I hope it meant something to you. I hope you took something away from this. And I pray that everybody has a good day and continues on a healthy journey. Like we said, we'll be in touch. We'll be sending you more information in regards to many things we're going to do. Hopefully we have something somewhere near you that you can actually come and visit us and share energy and love. So thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everybody for sharing. Have a good day.
Thank you. This was
Bye.
great. Thank you. Bye.